Ladies and gentlemen, this debate, our main card, has a little bit of a different format than what we did previously. We're going to have the opening statements for both of you. Those will be 5 minutes apiece. Then you'll each get 10 minutes to kind of do an interrogatory of the other. That will go back and forth. And then after that, we'll go into open debate. As you saw with some of the other debates earlier, we try to let the other person answer. I'll try to jump in as I can, but for the most part, I want you all to mix it up, all right? Have fun with it.
Sounds good.
And who is first?
I'm first.
I thought so. Anna, take it away. We got 5 minutes.
In a May 2024 appearance on Tim Pool's Culture War podcast, my opponent, Pearl Davis, declared that women aren't really doing much. We're not having kids. We're not really contributing to the economy when you look at output. In fact, she uses this ridiculous assertion to argue that women should not have the right to vote. While it's true the birth rate has declined, and we'll revisit that in a bit, women account for 47% of the American workforce. The Council of Economic Advisors found that women have contributed a substantial portion of the US economic growth since 1970, which wouldn't have been made possible without the feminist movement. By 2017, women were responsible for nearly 40% of total gross domestic product, amounting to a whopping $7.6 trillion. Of course, that figure doesn't include the trillions of dollars in unpaid labor women do every year, tending to the household, raising children, and caring for ailing parents. And when it comes to certain sectors of our economy, women are a dominant and indispensable force. Like in the healthcare industry, where they make up nearly 80% of workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's 16.4 million women. When it comes to education, in 1960, women earned less than 35% of all bachelor's degrees. Today, they earn roughly 58% of all bachelor's degrees, which Pearl herself benefited from after graduating from Elmhurst University. Women also earn over 60% of master's degrees. I hope to hear Pearl explain how a more educated and skilled population somehow translates to cultural decline, especially as we compete with China in this increasingly multipolar world. The modern feminist movement also had a major impact on decreasing domestic violence, and that's according to the US Department of Justice. Rates of intimate partner violence decreased by more than 60% from 1994 to 2010. And that's thanks to protective order statutes and funding for shelters beginning in the 1970s and 80s. Not only did the two-income household become more financially resilient, especially during economic downturns, women gained the ability to leave abusive relationships, an outcome correlated with improved child health and educational attainment. A culture that protects people from violence is not one that's indicative of cultural decline. Pearl herself has benefited greatly from the feminist movement, thanks to Title IX in 1972, signed by Nixon, of course. Sex-based discrimination in any school program or activity that receives federal funding is prohibited. Pearl herself had a rather impressive record playing for Elmhurst University's volleyball team, having earned all conference honors as a senior. She later pursued professional volleyball in London. She could have stayed in the United States and served in her role as a traditional woman, but she didn't. And she could have been the traditional chaste woman living out her dream of everything women were supposed to do before feminism, but she is neither traditional nor chaste by her own admission. While feminists would have no problem with her personal choices, she has made a career bashing women for theirs. Critics often argue that modern feminism has weakened families and resulted in a lower birth rate. They tend to dismiss empirical evidence demonstrating the insidious impact of the internet, social media on modern relationships. They also brush economic instability under the rug, despite young people citing their personal finances as the main reason why they're holding off on marriage in the first place. In lieu of discussing those factors, Pearl spends much of her time discouraging men from getting married in the first place. During her debate with Trent Horn, she declared that men are better off shacking up without ever getting married. Her reasoning? Women are too fat and STD infected.
25%, that's a lot.
You did say that. She didn't stop to think about how they contracted the STDs in the first place.
Boring.
Data from the National Library of Medicine show that modern men are just as promiscuous as modern women. Men and women are in bad shape, and in the United States, we can discuss why, but feminism is not the reason.
Very good. Thank you. Nice job. Okay, Pearl, we got 5 minutes. You're going to be on the clock, and let's go.
Most debaters and commentators are elitists who tell average Americans from their ivory towers what to think and how to feel. My answer to this question not only comes from covering current events and researching the facts, data, and statistics, but also in my professional experience interviewing over 1,000 people in America and Western nations. Feminism has given women power, and power corrupts. And that's what's happening. Feminism is robbing men of their disposable income and their prime earning years. Feminism has empowered women. It has empowered women to be sexually promiscuous. Feminists say that they fought for women to not subject themselves to the approval of men. Why then are 5 to 10% of women between the ages of 18 to 25 on OnlyFans or other prostitution websites? There are more online prostitutes in America than female Walmart employees. 1 of 3 women will catch an STD at some point in their lifetime. 90% will catch HPV, which is incurable. Feminism has empowered women to abort 1/8 of the world population and 1/3 of Gen Z. Feminists have been so empowered to commit paternity fraud. Paternity fraud is unpunished in any state in the USA or any country in the West. If done correctly, a man will have to pay for a child he was fooled into believing was his until that child reaches maturity. In some states, that man will also have to pay for that kid's college. That is slavery and is forbidden under the 13th Amendment. 1/3 of paternity tests are negative by the American Association of Blood Banks. Feminism has empowered women to rob men of their time, their resources, their reputation, their children, and in the most extreme cases, their lives. They do this through child support, alimony, false allegations, and paternity fraud. How many people in this arena have a brother, a father, an uncle, or a friend who has gone through this meat grinder? Anna has been on the air for 15 years and is completely oblivious to these issues. It's a silent genocide of the lives of millions of men. Standing on the sidelines of the arena, I have 33-year combat veteran Terrence Popp. He served through 3 wars and was almost killed in 2. He got married, had 2 children, and served in the United States Army. Terrence Popp was deployed to Iraq in 2004, and as a member of the airborne infantry, he was wounded by a roadside bomb and suffered a TBI and a stroke from the blast. He was evacuated out of the country, and it took over 2 years until he had recovered. While he was recovering, his wife was plotting to divorce him. His wife murdered his 6-year-old chocolate lab out of spite because he filed for divorce first. When he confronted her, the response he got was, "I told you I did not want you living here." At this point, he was forced to leave the marital home and live out of his car. The divorce took away his home, his children, and left him penniless and saddled with a child support payment he could not afford. Terrence had to pay $144,000 over a 12-year period for a divorce that his wife was empowered by feminists to plan and execute. Terrence went into court to fight for 50-50 custody. Terrence was called a murderer and an assassin in open court and was given 96 hours a month with his children. 96 hours a month is not a father. While homeless, he spoke to many other men who would never get off the streets due to child support arrearages and penalties, and the men constantly getting arrested for unpaid child support. The disparage of losing his children and his home, and his PTSD and constant pain from his wounds, he became suicidal. While at his post in 2008, a former commander of his came to see him to secretly say his last goodbyes. The next day, Mr. Pop's former commander put on his dress blues and went to the Holy National Veterans Cemetery and blew his brains out. Terrence Pop was notified of the death and was shocked because he was planning to commit suicide in the exact same manner. So in effect, his former commander took the bullet that was meant for him. Terrence Pop decided he would not kill himself and has spent the last 20 years saving 576 men from suicide with comedy. If you look to the left of the stage, Terrence is holding the dog tags for every life that he has saved. Now, why am I telling you this? Shout out to Terrence, yeah. Now, why am I telling you this? Because men and American veterans are put in this position because of the empowerment that feminists like Ana have pushed for. There are millions of men that have died in this country from the political power that feminism pushes. Since 1970, an estimated 1.6 million men have committed suicide.
Time. Stop there.
If feminists cared about equality, why aren't they fighting for equality in divorce and family court as hard as they are fighting for abortion, working, or becoming sex workers? Thank you.